Today I have the pleasure of speaking with Tyler Muir from Homerun Resources. Tyler, it's day one on PDAC. What are you planning on doing while you're at PDAC this week?
Yeah, it's exciting to be here. It's refreshing to see all the people out and walking around the floor. So, my objectives of this conference are just to get out there and just talk to people, get a temperature for the market and hit the road.
Of course, Homerun has a very exciting story. Brazil, Silica, Antimony-Free, Silica, solar panels, very exciting. Where should we start?
Yeah, I think, just to give you a bit of a recap of where Homerun is today, we're working diligently to get a bankable feasibility study done on Latin America's first solar glass manufacturing facility. So a pretty important milestone for us because it's something that, people can look at and model based off that BFS, and obviously after that you can get into the financing and construction, and that's going to be a very significant milestone for Brazil as a whole, but also for Homerun and our shareholders. So we're really excited with how things have come together so far, and we look forward to seeing what comes next.
If you wouldn't mind, there's probably a lot of people out there in the audience that don't know the relevance of a bankable feasibility study, which is quite a significant milestone for a company. Would you mind talking us and walking us through that process?
Definitely, yeah. So, basically we started with an idea. So we found this high purity silica sand resource based in Brazil, and through some pretty intensive metallurgical studies, we realized that this silica deposit is perfectly suitable for very high efficiency solar glass. The reason being is because the impurity content of the silica itself, we have next to no iron and next to no aluminum that are attached to our silica sand. So the idea was, okay, we've got this quality resource, but nothing's really being done with it. So we come up with the idea, and we took the consensus of that Brazil was basically importing almost 100% of their solar glass. So we said, well, why don't we bring the industry to Brazil? And so fast forward to today, we've defined the resource. We've made significant headway. We've actually announced offtake agreements that exceed our annual capacity. And the bankable feasibility study is that next phase where, right after you announce that, you can do your financing. It's the most sure form of a feasibility study that you can do because you're able to actually finance on the back of that. So, looking at institutions that we're in talks with, like BNDES, that's an instrument that they require to actually finance the build of the solar glass plants. So we're very close.
Okay, so the timeline for getting this done, a month?
Yeah, I think we're a few short months away. It's being done third party through DTEC and SORG. These are third party people that have come together to deliver this bankable feasibility study. So yeah, I think we're getting really close. Which this business went from an idea to a BFS in about 3 years. Traditional bankable feasibility study for a mining asset like gold, copper would be years, 10, 15 years to do your resource definition and get there. So we've condensed that into a few short years, and now we're only a few short months away. So we're really excited.
Well, it does sound very exciting. And of course, you've had other significant news. I don't think our audience may be aware of how large this project is. You just announced recently that you completed district control strategy with purchase agreement for 582 hectares of land. Okay, that's sizable. Can you tell us more about this announcement?
Yeah, so basically the idea was, when we first found this silica resource, it was under fractured control. There was different owners in that district, and our idea was to, being the Canadian company we are, was to consolidate the resource into one holding through Homerun and partner with anybody in that district who wanted to partner with us to build this district. So that acquisition of the land is just an execution point on the consolidation strategy. And fast forward to where we are, we have full control over the entire district. We have a plot of land where we will be building the silica purification plant as well as the solar glass plant right beside the resource. So another checkbox for what we've done.
And of course, you were talking about the offtake agreement. Was the one you were talking about the one about Sengi Solar? Yes. Can you give us some of the details of that deal?
Yeah, so that one was quite interesting because Sengi Solar is one of the largest solar module manufacturers in Brazil. They've got a state-of-the-art factory. It's beautiful. Our team members have been there. And basically, we started the engagement with an initial 20,000 ton per year offtake contract. Sengai has been watching what we've been doing very closely, and they came back to the table and actually upped their offtake to 100,000 tons, a minimum of 100,000 tons on an annual basis. So that's for a 365,000 ton per year plant, that's a nice chunk out of the offtake that we'll be supplying to a readily available and operational solar module manufacturer.
Brazil is such an exciting country for critical minerals as well. And it's my understanding the Brazilian government is completely behind you. Is that correct?
Yeah, they've been instrumental in this move forward, and we continue to have open dialogue with them in all things, from project finance to even repairing the roads and improving the roads. The commitment of natural gas is going to be farmed into the asset that we picked up, so a continuous supply of natural gas. But on top of that, something that's near and dear to our heart is the area that we're operating in is quite unemployed. It's an industry or an area that needs some economic boost, and that's exactly what we're going to offer. So part of our business plan was to contribute to an education fund. So per ton of silica sold, we'll be contributing to an educational fund that will go to improve the lives of the areas that we're going to be operating in.
Can you talk to the size of the market that you're going after?
Yeah, it's gigantic. So, for example, our solar glass plant in Brazil will produce about 5 gigawatts worth of solar glass. The market in Brazil itself has over 120,000 gigawatts of pre-construction solar plans. So it's a huge market for us to tap into, and we're going to be competitive because we're going to be locally building the solar glass and selling to local solar module manufacturers, so they're going to cut costs on logistics, and it's 100% Brazilian made.
Also, it's my understanding that the silica you have is so unique, it cuts out the need for the antimony.
Yes.
Or reduces it.
Yeah.
Explain that to me.
Yeah, so basically, the way solar glass is produced is a lot of the silica sand in the world is contaminated with metal components like iron, aluminum, and things like that. And again, what we found through our metallurgy was that we had next to no iron or aluminum attached to our silica. There's a threshold that you need to hit for iron contaminants in order to have clear and efficient solar glass. And that threshold is about 70 ppm. In our raw form, our silica has under 10 ppm, so just as it sits in the ground. So we actually don't need to use antimony, where other solar glass manufacturers, because their source of silica is not sufficient, they have to source antimony, which is very expensive. It's a rare commodity. It's not easy to find, and then they have to dope that in order to bring the effects of the iron impurities down to make an efficient solar glass. So we get to avoid that completely. And what's interesting about that is, by not using antimony in our solar glass, we cut about $30 million of operating costs off.
Well, you just answered the question I was going to say. Not all of our investment audience may understand the benefits of not having to utilize the critical mineral antimony, which is incredibly expensive.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, for everybody out there interested in home run resources or how to get a home run, please go to the following website. And thank you so much for joining us, Tyler.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.